All weekend we have been, of course, all over the story in Orlando, and we have seen some incredible shows of courage and bravery and unity in the country and the way people have reacted to this. We've talked about some of the stuff at the LA Pride Parade, which went on, mind you, just hours after police.
I mean, look at all the signs in these photos. Everyone's supporting
people with Orlando,
the victims. Everyone's banding together for this.
And the fact that and other events that went on despite what happened in Orlando and despite that arrest in Santa Monica of a guy with an arsenal of guns and a bomb in the back of his, essentially a bomb in the back of his car. So you would think that was the overriding feeling in the country, and I would hope to say that it actually is the overriding feeling. But there's also been
the reality of what's going on
well,
there as well.
We put up over the last few days we put up well over 20-something stories related to this, and we've looked at some of the comments in there, and I'm sad to say there is an incredible amount of homophobia and just hateful language that is being used by a lot of people who are, when we put these things up, this is not what we're expecting. You expect maybe some of this, and honestly, I'm looking at some of the comments, and I can't really bring them up, but I know Harvey, who is traveling for business right now, has seen some of these comments also and wanted to join us to talk about this. Harvey, you there?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that the media, and rightly so, the media has really, kind of come together, and they've really shown the outpouring of support and love and empathy that a lot of people feel, but they haven't addressed something that I just feel is important to address, which is like you said, Charles, there is a lot of hatred out there. And I think that it's reflected by some of these comments on our website. I'm certainly not proud of it, that's for sure, that people are coming to our site to express this. But I think these are people who have views that have not gone away. I mean, everybody kind of thinks, oh, no, this doesn't exist anymore. It does. And, it's funny because I was with some people last night who kind of went further than I did, who were saying that they felt like the reaction here was not as profound as it might have been had it not been a gay bar. I didn't feel that. They did. But I will say there is a tremendous amount of hatred still out there toward gays. It reminds me of when, a lot of people were saying AIDS is God's revenge. And, I think it's important to be mindful of the fact that the guy who did this, his views were rooted in hatred and ugly and horrible. And he's not alone in his feelings. And I think it's just important to acknowledge that. I don't think it really has been aired out enough in the media.
We always talk about here about the beauty of America, that everybody can have their viewpoints and everybody can have their take on something. But it's important to remember that just because you feel this way and 25 people feel the same way, there are a lot of people who don't feel that way.
A lot of people who don't feel that way, and again, people think, oh, because the U.S. Supreme Court validated gay marriage and that there are states that have now ratified laws that prohibit discrimination. I mean, Charles, you've seen that too. In the African-American community, the civil rights law didn't make people not prejudiced.
Right.
I mean, it's something that happens over time, and it's no different here. And there is a lot of prejudice still, irrespective of what courts and legislatures and presidents say or do. And, you go to the, I actually like the idea of people maybe going to the site and just browsing some of these comments just to see what's going on still in 2016. It is really appalling.
On a complete side note, Harvey, weather looks great there.
You know what, Charles? I timed this with you guys. I was on the airplane and I made it in this car in 30 seconds. So to be honest with you, I will look outside right now. It looks nice.
That's the first time you're seeing it.
I literally have not looked outside. I went from baggage claim right inside the car, so there you go.
All right. Thanks, Harvey.
We'll see you later.